Hi everyone and welcome back to Pilots. This is lopsided. Hi everyone and welcome back to Pilots. This is our 7th session, but our 8th video, and we only have one more session after this, so we are quickly wrapping up. If you couldn't tell, I'm a little bit more dolled up than I usually am. Technically, I graduated today, which isn't real because I'm still doing my thesis right now, but like the pomp and circumstance is out of the way, which was kind of nice to celebrate and have something to look forward to for finishing this, because then I feel a little bit more earned and accomplished. So today's meeting, like I said, is going to be heavy. I think that it's probably going to be the heaviest topic that we talk about. So if you feel uncomfortable with the concept of depression, I recommend you can stop the video now, go into the description and fill out the survey and say that you could not complete the program due to the content. I completely understand. This is a topic that is not easy for me to even talk about. Because I myself experienced depression, and so it's hard for me to kind of relate the experience. But I want to go through the signs and symptoms and different ways that we can protect ourselves from our depressive episodes getting really bad. And I want to also recognize when our depression gets bad, what we can do about that and what we should do about that. So we're going to do a little self-care tip. We're going to talk about depression, and then we're going to wrap it up with a community service project. This is going to be largely lecture-based, kind of like the last one. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of tips and sheets that I can offer for depression, because instead of stress and anxiety, which is kind of like climbing up a mountain and having to climb back down it, depression is very much being in a hole, and it's kind of hard to get out of that hole unless you have, those protective factors, those things in mind, but we'll talk more about that. So if at all you feel uncomfortable during this video, feel free to stop it, fill out the survey, tell me that you can complete it, and I will completely understand. If you feel that the things that I'm offering throughout this video are not helping, or that you have tried and they do not help, please use the resources that I will post below and at the end, because like I said, with anxiety and with stress, not everything looks the same for everyone. All of us experience it differently, but not everything works the same for everyone. And some people need different techniques and different things to do, and some people might need a little bit more assistance. So please keep that in mind for yourself. But without further ado, let's get into the self-care tip. So my self-care tip today is going to be a really kind of funny sounding one, because I've been recommending for you to take time to yourself, but I've recommended doing hobbies and doing things that you need to do to get stuff done, all for the purpose of, exploring yourself. But I want you, as a self-care tip, to be okay being by yourself. And that is my tip, is to itch my face, to take 10, 20, 30 minutes, even a whole day, be by yourself. Be okay being by yourself. I go hiking by myself. I don't recommend that. It's not safe. Don't hike by yourself. But I get very comfortable being by myself and having that time where I can kind of focus on my own thoughts, focus on the things that I want to work through and things that I want to do. I love to drive and listen to my own music and take that time being in my own little zone without having to think about anyone else's, opinions or actions while I'm in that space. Taking a nap, doing meditation, driving by yourself if you can. If not, listen to some music and go for a walk. Go for a walk around a park, lay in a meadow, doing things that are just for you, just you. Just being able to take that time and be okay being by yourself and being in your own thoughts is really, really something that's undervalued. And I think that it's important to be able to be okay being on your own. And it's really refreshing and can help you work through some things that you might need that time alone to do. So self-care tip, zone out, be by yourself, have a great time. Yeah. So now let's talk about depression. Okay, so the topic of depression is a really hard one. If you feel uncomfortable at all during any of this, please stop the video, use the resources, and I will totally be okay with that. I just want for you to feel better and feel good about this stuff and knowing about it. But some people are not ready, and I recognize that, and that's totally fine. And I do not judge or am upset with you. I just want the best for you. But for those who are sticking around, we're going to talk about the signs and symptoms, some things that can help us protect against things getting worse. And then maybe some things that we can do when we're feeling pretty down. I will use the disclaimer though, that if you are feeling, sorry, I have to take a steadying breath. If you are feeling despondent to the point where you feel like you can't continue, if you are experiencing suicidal ideation, if you have made a plan, if you are feeling alone, you feel like giving up, please reach out to the appropriate sources that I will put below. Please call someone, call your parents, call your friends, call 911, call a mental health resource center, because I promise you, when your depression gets to that point, when you feel that low, you feel that alone, you feel like you can't continue, it's because you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I promise you that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I have been there before. I have experienced suicidal ideation. I have experienced being at that point, but I was always able to handle it without it getting really bad, because I'm somebody who is pretty optimistic. And so even when I feel really, really low, I still have, you know, my protective factors in mind, and I'm able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So if you can't see that light, you can't see that end, you can't find the good that can go on in your life right now, please reach out to somebody, because even if you can't see it yourself, somebody else can help you with that, and somebody can help you feel better and get those tools and get those resources that you need. Even if you're not at that point, but you feel like your depression is bad, you feel like you are going to listen to everything that I'm about to say, and you feel like nothing helps, and you've tried other things and you still feel really low, please reach out to somebody. It's so important to be able to recognize the difference between a depressive episode and depression that's continuing into something deeper, and something that's a little bit more hard to manage, something that might need chemical regulation from a psychiatrist or need extra tools. I'm providing what I can, like I did with the stress and with the anxiety and everything else, but I recommend being able to reach out to somebody who might be able to provide you with more, especially if you feel that you're at a point where the things that I'm asking you to recognize aren't helping. That being said, so depression looks and feels different in everyone. When I moved to San Diego, I hit a height of my depression that I didn't even recognize that I was in. And sometimes it is hard to recognize, because you go through these periods of time where you're just like really tired or really upset or really angry, and then you don't even recognize that. You're like, why am I so irritable lately? And then you stop and you think, oh my God, I'm depressed. Or like, why am I so tired all the time? Oh my God, my brain is using all of my energy to be depressed. So recognizing these things in yourself and being able to see like, oh, this is what I feel like when I'm depressed. Just like with, this is what I feel like when I'm stressed or when I'm anxious. It can help you recognize when a depressive episode might be coming on, and how to maybe protect against it getting worse. So I think a lot of people, when they think of depression, they think of that sadness, that depression, that feeling of worthlessness, hopelessness, not being able to get out of bed, not being able to, you know, feel good about anything. And it can be that. But like I said, it can also be anger. It can be lashing out at people and wanting to be left alone and being just so mad at everything existing. It can be being so exhausted. It can be executive dysfunction, which is not being able to perform basic tasks because your brain just like can't fathom the need to do that. So like not cleaning your room, not doing your chores, not doing your homework, even if it was small stuff that you were used to doing before. Or even, you know, sometimes for me, it's hard to motivate to even play video games because I just don't have enough motivation or energy to do something that I like doing. It can be not eating enough food or drinking enough water or exercising or sleeping. which are things that can worsen your depression. Those are symptoms and signs. Also things that can protect against it. But it can be a lot of different things. And I'll post a list from the Evolve Treatment Center and maybe some other resources. But recognizing that stuff in yourself is really important, because then you can say, oh, I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling angrier. I'm feeling sadder. I'm feeling more tired than I usually am. What's going on? What's causing me to feel that way? And so sometimes it's easy to recognize when we might be hitting an onset of a depressive episode. For some of us, it's easy to recognize the things that are going on in our lives and be able to say, oh, that is a factor right there. For me, when I moved to San Diego, what made everything worse was a few things. I got ghosted by somebody that I was seeing for a really long time. I crashed my car the day that I was moving to San Diego and totaled it, and it was really hard because, you know, it was a really traumatic experience. My best friend had just moved to Japan. I was moving into a new, very horrifying place. If you go to San Diego State, please don't live at 5025. It looks like a mental ward that's trying to convince you that it's not a mental ward. Like from one of those movies with like the long scary hallways, and there's like a beeping that's happening everywhere. And so all of those things were things that contributed to me feeling worse. And I could recognize them, I could see them, and those were, you know, things that I was like, oh, that's why I feel worse lately. Unfortunately, I have not been in the past a master of coping and a master of using my protective factors in the correct way. So for me, things got worse and things, you know, came to a height where I was feeling really angry and tired, and I felt like I was pushing everyone away and making wrong decisions all the time. I don't want you to get to that point. I want you to be able to recognize these things and recognize the signs and symptoms for yourself as they come on, so that you can look at them and say, okay, how can I handle this? How can I bring myself back out of this? Sometimes it can be really hard to bring yourself back out of it. So using protective factors and recognizing these things before they happen is an important step, so that we make sure that we don't get into an even deeper hole that we can't really climb out of on our own. But being able to recognize those signs, like I said, and then being able to recognize things that might bring you into a depressive episode is extremely important. So, you know, it could be that, let me get a little closer. It could be something like, you know, you're preparing for college, you have to prep for the SAT, and it's really stressful, and you feel really despondent about that. You know, you feel a lot of pressure from your family or from your friends. Maybe you're in a fight with your friends. Maybe you're moving out of your childhood home. Maybe your parents are getting divorced. Maybe you experienced a big breakup. It could be anything that is kind of a bummer, is like the worst way to describe it, but like the most fitting way that I can see fit is like something that just like isn't a great situation, and sometimes, you know, we don't handle it very well, and then it gets worse, and then it just brings us into a low mood for a longer period of time. So being able to recognize those things and how they affect us, and being like, oh my gosh, I've been feeling extra sad and extra angry since my boyfriend or girlfriend or partner broke up with me. How can I feel better? You know, how do I get that anger to go away? How do I process what happened? And I think being able to process situations is really important, not only for depression, but for anxiety as well, and say like, this traumatic event happened. Let me break it down and let me be able to say, okay, why am I upset about this right now? What about this is making me feel a low mood or feel an altered state of mind? That's kind of a hard thing to do, especially on your own. I recommend journaling for something like that, or talking to a friend if, you know, they're willing to listen. Your friends are not your therapists. They have no obligation to listen to your problems, even though you might hope that they'd be there for you. But a therapist is my 10 out of 10 recommendation for things like that, because, you know, they are equipped to listen to those problems and be able to help you handle them. So being able to break down traumatic events, or being able to recognize, you know, if you're not ready to break down something that happened, being able to recognize the good things in your life that make you feel better. So being able to recognize that you have a good group of friends that can take you to go do something fun, having hobbies that make you feel better, having a supportive family, having a nice home life, having nature that you can go out into, having things to look forward to. Those are all things that can help protect against these big events bringing you down for much longer. Sometimes though, this stuff, being able to do this mindfulness thing is not so easy in helping. And sometimes we're already feeling that depression and we're feeling that exhaustion, and it's hard for us to kind of recognize the stuff that makes us feel good. A lot of people do recommend, you know, yoga to try to bring yourself out of that depressive episode, or doing mindfulness in another way, like meditation, being okay with yourself. There's a lot of backlash from people online who are like, let me just yoga my depression away. Haha, that's so stupid. It works for some people, you know? I always get so mad when people say stuff like that, because it does. For some people, it's, you know, as simple as being able to take a moment to themselves every day and get okay with their mentality and kind of bring themselves out of it. For some other people, they need that time to kind of like ride their way through it. And, you know, it's kind of hard because sometimes you do just need to ride your way through it and be able to make sure that you're still functioning to a point where you're like, okay, I can go to school every day, I can do my homework, but I just feel crappy for a long period of time. And those are kind of like the situations in which, you know, sometimes we let some stuff fall to the wayside, like maybe we don't text our friends as often as we should, or we don't do our chores as often as we should. And for that kind of situation, I recommend, you know, like I said with the bullet journal, being able to like kind of mark down things that you need to do throughout the day and be like, okay, so today I need to wake up, I need to eat breakfast, I need to go to school, I need to eat lunch, I need to go to my after school, I need to eat dinner, I need to do my homework. And those are just like basic everyday things that you need to get done. But being able to even like tick off that you did a few of them when you're feeling like it's really hard to do any of that stuff can help you feel a little bit more accomplished and help you feel a little bit normal. Being able to like write out a schedule as well and be like, okay, everything is kind of blending together because I'm so tired and sad and angry all the time. Being able to say like, okay, today I have work, today I have class, today I have to go with my mom to buy antiques. Flashback from my childhood. Being able to write out a schedule and say like, these are the obligations that I have to myself and other people can help you kind of fight against that lack of motivation and push you into a place where you feel like a sense of regularity. And I think a lot of the times when people are feeling depressed, it's a lack of regularity that they're not able to like regulate on their own. And so it's hard for you to kind of like recognize everyday stuff that you should be doing or that you used to do because it just feels so impossible to do at that time. If we're not at the point where our mindfulness and yoga and protective factors and talking our way out of it is helping, we're in the midst of it. We're trying to make lists. We're trying to push ourselves to have normal days. We're trying to eat, drink, and sleep. All things that can help against it. Exercise, good too, like doing just even a basic walk every single day. If those things aren't helping you feel more normal, feel coming out of it, and we're at that point where things are getting worse and we're just feeling depressed for even longer periods of time, or our relationships are falling apart, our grades are deteriorating, our parents are getting really mad at us, that's the point where we really, really need to open up to other people and we need to start seeking out other resources. Throughout any of it, if you're feeling depressed at all, like I do recommend communication above all things. Like if you tell people, especially teachers, if you are feeling depressed and anxious and you can't get anything done, if you go to your teacher and you tell them like, I can't do this homework right now, I don't feel prepared for this test, my brain is fighting against me, please help. I recommend that because I know a lot of us think our teachers are out to get us when we're younger, but they're people too, and they experience these things too. And I promise you, they prefer students that come to them and talk to them about these things. And I know the same thing kind of, sometimes we don't want to talk to our parents about that kind of stuff because we think that they might not understand, but telling them like, I need help is the best thing that you can do, especially when we get to that really, really bad point, because they're there to take care of you. And they're there to make sure that you're surviving into adulthood. And so if you tell them like, I'm not doing too hot, you know, it at least gives them the opportunity to make those connections for you and take you to a therapist and take you to do something that might make you feel better. If you don't have the support from your school or your parents, there are online resources that I will put in automatically. You can reach out to them if you don't feel comfortable talking to anybody else about it. There are anonymous helplines and tip lines that you can text and talk to that can help you work out the really bad stuff when you're feeling really low. But, you know, being able to be open with the people in your life and being able to get help from somebody who can consistently give that help to you is a really, really important step, especially when you're down at that point where you don't feel like anything's worth it. Ideally, we want to start talking to people before we get to that point, because I've been there before, and I've been in that low, low hole where you're just like, I don't want to talk to anyone about it. I don't even want to think about it. I'm just so tired all the time. I just feel so bad about everything. I just would prefer not to think about it and just feel like crap forever. You don't feel like crap forever. I promise you, you come out of it, but you're going to come out of it a lot faster if you talk to a professional. You give somebody the opportunity, your friends, your family, your teachers, you know, the opportunity to help you, to talk it through with you, or get you somebody that can give you the proper tools if they don't know what to do. So like I said, if you're at that point where you're feeling really, really heavy, you're feeling really, really low, please reach out to someone. I just want for you to be okay. And I promise you, as a blanket statement to everyone, the circumstances that you're in right now will not last forever. That breakup, the fight with your friends, the fight with your parents, the divorce, the moving, the bad grades, the body image issues, you know, like everything bad that happens in our life can accumulate into this big point where we're like, I'm stuck like this forever. It won't be forever. When I was in high school, I was a lot heavier than I am now. I had a lot worse friends than I do have now. I had a much worse relationship with my parents. My mom sold our childhood home when I was a senior. You know, I had guys who did not treat me well. I had all of these things that were really bad. And for a long time, I was just like, it's going to be like this forever. Life's going to suck forever. But I did have things like the YMCA and other good friends that took care of me and made sure that I felt like I had that at least like lifed. But I had these good friends and I had these protective factors like the YMCA and programs that made me feel supported and made me feel like I had a little life raft. And that helped me see the end of it and see the light that could be at the, you know, like, and that helped me see the end of it, see the light at the end of the tunnel, and be able to say, you know what, everything else in my life feels awful right now, but I have these things and I can make it. And even if you feel like you don't have those things, you will make it. You will have a future, you will have a family, you will have friends, you will have loved ones, you will be able to get the life that you want to have if you stick around for it. If you find the things that you want out of life that make life worth living, you're gonna make it. But using these tools that I'm offering in all of these sessions will help you make it there. So please, use what I have to offer. If it's not helping, search something else out. I will put resources. If that's not helping, please talk to a professional, because sticking around is so much more worth it than not sticking around. There's so many things in life that are worth living for, and like they can even be the smallest thing as like a puppy. Amazing. I want to live forever just so I can look at puppies forever. It can be big things like I'm gonna get a really great job where I can hang out with a bunch of really cool kids and talk to them about stuff like this. One day I'm gonna get married and live in a house that has a community garden nearby, and like that's an amazing future that I can see for myself, and I'm so excited to get to that point and stick around for it. So please, find the things, if you're feeling really low, that's worth sticking around for. If you're feeling to that point where you don't see that stuff, please reach out and find somebody who can help you see what's gonna make it worth it for you. Like I said, really heavy topic, really heavy video. I hope that this helps. I really do. I hope that at least being able to recognize what it looks like for you and what triggers it for you, and being able to find the stuff that brings you out of it, can help your depressive episodes last for a shorter amount of time. But, you know, it's hard. Mental health is really difficult, and it's important to practice wellness and practice things that keep us from getting to these like terror points where it's like, Danger, Will Robinson? I don't know, I've watched like Meet the Robinsons, but I don't even know where I think it's from like an old version of Meet the Robinsons. Anyways, but not getting to that point where we're like having that like flashing light of danger and not being able to handle anything. You know, it's important to practice self-care and self-love and breaking down our goals and having our values and having protective factors to make sure that we feel good, so that we don't go into crisis mode when stuff gets bad. Um, so now I think let's talk about a community service project. So service project, go out to the beach when you can, and bring one of those little claw toys, and pick up some trash. You can also, I recommend having gloves on the whole time, but like have gloves. If you're braver than I am, you can just pick up trash off the beach and put it into a bag. And I think that this service project is great because there's so many people that use the beach, and not only do they disrespect the space, but like there's tons of people out there and friends and family, and you know, it washes into the ocean and it hurts our animals and it hurts the people and the animals that are on the beach. So it's like such a small, very convenient and sweet thing that you could do, is just picking up trash and either putting it into the trash can, or if it's a ton of trash, you can put it in your own trash bag, tie it off, and when social distance is done, you can lay out your blanket and have a beach day, and then be like, I'm gonna collect my bags of trash that I use to help the environment and help the people around me, and I'm gonna take them and I'm gonna dispose of them the right way. And it's such a great way to just take care of the people around you, take care of a space that so many of us take for granted, especially in California. So service project, clean up your beach when social distance is done. All right, so we talked about self-care tip, which is zoning out and spending time with ourselves. We talked about depression. Please take this topic seriously. If you are feeling like you need extra help, you're feeling like the things that I offered are not enough for you, reach out, use the resources below. Make sure that you are telling people if you need help. And there's no shame in needing help. I got therapy. You know, I tell people all the time when I'm feeling really low, if I need help and I need support. And, you know, the people in your life care about you, and your therapists care about you. I care about you. Your teachers, literally everyone, I promise you, wants to make sure that you're okay. So reaching out is so important, especially when you're feeling really low. So we talked about that. We talked about that depression. And we talked about a service project that you can do after social distance is done. I really hope that this video helped. Please comment below and tell me if you need anything else, or if I can improve upon anything with this subject. This and some of the others are really difficult to talk about. So if you have any suggestions or what you would have liked to hear in the survey as well as in the comments, please let me know. Please do the survey. And yeah, I hope that you're feeling good. I hope that as summer hits, you're finding things to entertain yourself with and making yourself feel better and feel good about this time. Please explore your hobbies, explore the things that you like to do, the things that make you feel good about yourself. And I know that I'm going to, as soon as I'm done with all of this, I'm going to spend all summer managing a summer camp, but I'm also going to be working on art and working on, you know, taking care of my mind, my body, and my soul. So I will see you next session for our last official session. If I continue this after the thesis, then we'll have more, obviously, but I'm excited. So thank you for sticking around so much. Please check the description for resources for anything that you might need, and I will see you next time. Helplines that you can text, that you can call, that can help you, you know, talk your way down from that kind of like, what?